I'm Katrina, and this is Sow and Tare. Today we're talking food forests. So I already have a video about step 1, which was basically observation, see what's around you, connect with what plants you already have, and what that might mean for what you can plant. Today I want to talk about water. So observations with how things work on your property. That could be water, it could be other things. Right now we're talking about water. We've had a tremendous amount of water in the Pacific Northwest. We've been hit storm after storm, and you guys can hear that seasonal creek. So there's a seasonal creek here, and also this road is flowing. So there is water coming out of the roadway. That's a spring basically now, and so that is an area that, as we've gotten more saturation, the level that water comes out of the ground has gone uphill. So we've gotten quite a bit of water, and so these are the things you want to pay attention to. Now let's go up the hill a little bit and show you why this might matter. Here is one of the seasonal streams on the property. Now, streams can be seasonal, they can be ephemeral, they can go underground and then resurface. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of streams which can occur on your property. One of the things that this does is it carries water after a storm. And up until this past week, that's pretty much been what has done. It took a lot of rain to make it flow. It flowed pretty smooth for a very short amount of time, and that water was evacuated down into the creek. Now what it's doing, even though we have had a couple days without very much rain, it's still flowing quite nicely. So what that means is, as the ground gets saturated, and there's a mountain behind me, there's a whole hillside behind me, as that saturation increases, you have more water coming out of the ground basically, and you have it rolling off of the surface and also coming out of the actual soil itself. So a creek such as this, a little stream such as this, while it might be bone dry in April, bone dry in August, that's what I observed. I came onto the property in August. I saw the property with hopes to buy in April, I believe. It might have been May, I don't remember. In any case, it can be bone dry and not really look like much, and then a storm like this can come through and you can see how much it flows. Now if you already have a culvert on the property, this one does. Culvert's about, it's a 3-foot culvert, 2.5 foot culvert. That will tell you a little bit about past flows, because those past flows we assume would fit through the culvert, and in some cases it will be overbuilt, and in some cases it will be underbuilt, and you should be able to see scarring from when a river went around, if it was a huge event. So that's one reason to pay attention to things that are ephemeral. Ephemeral means it's there sometimes. Seasonal means it's there for a season. So ephemeral and seasonal waters can be important for you to pay attention to, so you know what to plant, where that may go out of the banks, and all of that. So let's go over here and I'll show you another thing related to this road, and we'll see over there. So I'm standing in the road right now. I can splash. It's very splashy. It's flowing. It's flowing at a really good pace. What this tells me, because I know up here, up the road, it is coming out of the road. It's not coming off the hillside. It's not coming out of the stream we just saw. It is coming out of the ground, and it's coming out of the ground at the road. Now, what does that mean? A lot of the water is actually flowing down the road it is in a direction, and it does end up in that same little seasonal creek or ephemeral stream. What that means is I am within an area that holds water. So I know uphill from me is saturated, downhill from me is definitely saturated, and I'm in an area which holds water. So if I walk over here, this is an area which likely I can plant things that like water. So your marshmallows, your, it's not quite squishy enough for like marshy stuff, but it could become so. So pay attention to that in these areas based on where the water's flowing, where it's coming out of the surface, and where it's going. So you can grow different things based on their different requirements for water, and if it's a higher requirement with water, that would be a good place. Now this is a very shady place, so I would also have to keep that in mind for whatever I would plant here. So that is something to keep in mind. Let's go to another area. Now if you've been watching the channel and you're not just here for the food forest stuff, you already have seen this several times because I keep showing you guys it, but the water flows out of the road. I want to show you how that works. I've gone up the road a little bit and want to take you along. I'll show you the shot of the ground and show you where that comes from. So we have water flowing. We have water flowing. And you can see it's not just a puddle, it's actually moving. And it actually comes from this way and comes out of the ground somewhere right here. Like you can see there's moving water right there. Moving water right here. And I do believe this is our source right here. So again, right here is where this comes out of the ground. Sometimes you can hear a little gurgling, sometimes you can't, but it's coming out of the ground right here. So this is the elevation we're looking at right now to make some of those water decisions. If you are growing something that's sensitive to water, if it's going to, if it's sensitive to root rot and stuff like that, you want to grow above this, or you want to elevate where it is so that the roots get basically a snorkel, and then it will be able to live. So paying attention to where water is in the ground is important for your roots. Throughout my observation process and searching, I've identified this as an area on my property which likely supports good growth. Much of it's already cleared. There are lots and lots of Oregon grapes. So if we know a little bit about Oregon grapes and what their soil needs are, we know what's here. Now I'm going to tell you this whole hillside is likely acidic. Douglas fir is the dominating tree of the area, and Douglas fir is acidic, is an acidic soil plant. So that's my guess. I actually have not looked up the specificities Oregon grape requires, but there is an awful lot in here as an understory. There's also a lot of ferns. Now ferns grow in areas where it's moist. There's different kinds of ferns. They all require different amounts of moisture. The type of fern that's here, name is escaping me now, it's all the brown stuff here. It grows in areas that can be sunny, can be shady. It likes a little bit of dapple, but it is in an area that is supported by moisture. You're not likely to see them on a grassland hillside unless there's an underground seep or underground some sort of water, something that's adding moisture. So again, looking at those plants, looking at the acidity of soil, all that stuff, I've identified this as an area. Now, what I want to know is it too wet? Now the plants here tell me no, but I'm going to walk out there and make sure, because we are in a massive time of moisture and wet and rain. So this is actually a really good thing to have in my life this year. Is huge rain. We are under flood watch, we're under river flood watch, and that is, or warning, I don't remember, watch or warning. And so now is actually, it's really good to have this in my first year here because I'm in the planning stages. So being in the planning stages and seeing those extremes can be helpful. So yeah, I'm gonna go out there and see what we see. I suspect it's gonna be just like this ground is right here. I'm on a road. It's a less developed road than the road down below. Well, let's see. All right, I am seeing basically solid ground. There is a gopher sign, which can tell you a little bit about the soil. It can tell you, well, it can't really tell you that things are saturated. Those gophers might not be there, but I'm gonna have gophers wherever I go. Can't really avoid them. Maybe I'll keep cats in the food forest. We'll see. It's an idea. But it's perfectly good over there. There's lots of strawberries. And strawberries, when I say there's strawberries here, there's strawberry leaves. It's pretty rare to see like a field of strawberries with berries in the wild. They mostly are the leaf and sometimes the berry. And when you get the berries, they're super yummy. It's the native strawberry. So you can eat the leaves, you can use them for tea, you can use them for a lot of different things. I think there's even a medicinal use for them. So that's good information to know. And if strawberries grow here, I can grow other kinds of strawberries here. So there's that association. All right, so this is one of the areas, and this is a smaller area. I have some other ideas that I might use this area for. My decisions aren't made up yet, but this is a good area to grow, is what I'm keying in on. All right, let's actually go back down the hill a little bit and into another area, which I think is a more likely area for me. Something to think about here is what we see on the surface isn't always what we see underneath the surface, because we don't see underneath the surface. What we see on the surface does not always tell us exactly what's happening under the ground. We are on the side of a hill. We're higher up than where the saturation point was down below. That's not to say there isn't water here underground as well. My well for my house, 7 feet deep, was discovered, not dug, was discovered in the 30s by someone digging a hole for a post. They hit water. And it has been going since the 30s. So I'm lucky in that. I'm very lucky in that. But it does tell me I do have these opportunities and challenges, because it does go both ways, in having water closer to the surface. My challenge right now is at my house. I'm pumping stuff from the back side of the house. Need to put it in French drain. I'll put a link here to the pump video in case you guys are interested. But looking at your water and where water flows on your property is important. And some of it you can get from, hey, there's drains there, hey, there's not a drainage there. There's no way I would be able to look at a road, a dirt rock road that's bone dry in August and say, I think water's gonna flow there. No way. No way would I ever imagine that. So this is advantageous for me to see this, and let's go look at the other place. Something I'm going to do, I didn't bring a shovel today, I'm going to dig some test pits sometime during this rainy season. Kind of once we get more, I'm guessing we're going to get more saturated. That's what I'm guessing. To see where that level is. And if you dig a test pit, you know, a couple feet deep or even a foot deep, that will tell you a little bit about the moisture and also the moisture retention of your soil. So talk about the soils later. This is another place I am thinking about making my food forest in. I avoid water. There are no drainages here. This goes back quite a ways. I would have to log. I would do selective logging, so I would keep some trees and log some trees for the purposes of opening up space for what I want to plant, and then also keeping the older trees and maybe a little bit of variety of the native trees for the fungal network they support underground. So that's what I would do with this portion. The other portion, it would be a smaller area and would not require as much of the tree chopping, but it would require some. And this area, it has already been logged. You can see that tree right there. The stump, it's a very tall stump. So there's a tree and then there's a stump. That was logged. This was likely left as a small tree during that time. The property's been logged several times. The last time was 94 and 95, but it was logged previous to that. And I actually talked with the previous owner, and he says that there are some really old, or there were when he had it, not previous, but the previous. Anyway, there were some very large stumps that had the springboard marking. So that tells me this area has been logged many times. That's great English. Many times. And what that means is that this environment has recovered many times, which you can take multiple different ways. One way you can take that is, wow, that's tough on the land. Another way you can take that is, okay, well, you don't have the same diversity that you used to have, which may or may not be true, because when an area is logged, it's either planted or it is seeded by nature, and those trees successful in early succession. So succession is when an area is bare, let's say, and goes through time. There's different plant communities occurring on it at different times, and the ultimate when the canopy closes up and it's dominated by some plants, that might not be what happens at the beginning. And so to understand what we're looking at here is a community likely maintained since the mid 90s. So you see it that way. You can also see it as a place where recovery has happened, therefore it can again. And what we're doing when we're doing a food forest is really, we're taking out a bunch of things. In my case, we're taking out a bunch of things that have input to the ecology. So we're taking out some trees which feed a whole bunch of things. It feeds animals, it feeds the bacteria and fungus in the soil. There's relationships between the fungus and the soil and the trees. So you're taking that away and replacing it with something else. And so I suspect an area like this has two things going on. One, it is resilient. It can recover. It can recover without additional water. It can recover without additional drip irrigation and stuff like that we often see in restoration projects. So this has recovered naturally. I don't believe this was planted. I believe it was just left. I don't think they had those rules in the 90s. They may have. But it has recovered naturally. The second thing is the mycelium, the underground component, may be still recovering. So mother trees, the bigger trees, are the ones, in my understanding, this is my understanding, those are the ones that really support the younger trees in huge capacity. If you haven't already seen it, look up on YouTube. It's called What Plants Talk About. And there's some talking about Douglas fir forests, which this basically is. It's not old growth, but the old growth trees actually provide for the young trees. You think, how do trees survive in a canopy that's almost fully enclosed? This one's not, but in an old growth, you know, there's baby trees, there's seedlings that grow up to be these huge trees, and they grow up in very shaded conditions. And the mother trees, basically, I'm not talking about mother trees like you're my child. I'm talking about mother trees as in like the greater scheme of things. They're the keepers of the mycorrhizal fungi that go out there. They support everybody else. They support the carbon transfer. They support all these things. So anyway, watch that. And then the lady who does that, and I don't remember her name, she's done a lot more updated research since then. So check her out. I've seen interviews with her. She actually, you know, Real Scientists, scientific journals and stuff like that. So check her out to see how that fungal network works. But my thoughts, my inkling is this system, even though it's been, let's see, in the 90s, it's been a long time. This is at the end of 2024 here, I'm recording this. However, it's likely still in recovery. When we talk about these huge fungal network communications that happen, they can happen very quickly. So if you get a pile of wood chips from someone and you let it sit, or even if you spread it out in a thick thing and put it on your walkway and you let it sit, you can put a pitchfork in there, turn it over a week later, and you're going to see white stringy stuff. That's mycelium. So it forms quickly. However, those relationships, those networks, likely take a while to really mature. Again, my assumption. So I'm assuming that this is still in the time of recovery. Again, we're not seeing any trees really larger than this one. There might be a couple larger than this one here, but you know, Douglas firs get huge. So this is by no means an old growth forest, by no means an old growth understory or understory. The fungal story? Do you call it that? So this is an area I feel is more ready for recovery. Does that make sense? I may be thinking backwards. Let me know what your opinion is of this. But this is an area I feel is in the growth, in the growing season, in the bringing up new life season. I mean, look around and you can see, you can't see, I'll move the camera. This area here has a lot of smaller trees. There's small Douglas fir, there's small madrone, which is just off camera. There's small tan oak. There are smaller trees. Oh, and more hazelnuts. Do these hazelnuts actually have hazelnuts in them? So, hazelnuts grow here. There are some larger bushes, but there are some that are like this, that are fairly small. So what this means is this is an area which supports growth. And I'm using my observational skills and kind of my feelings about what's going on here to support what I'm saying. There may be differences of opinion, differences of reality. This is what I'm going with though. I'm using my observation skills to create a hypothesis and then plan based on those hypotheses. Now, something else I'm seeing in here, which, is there any over here? I don't see you behind me, but I see over here and over there, there's some sword fern. Now, sword fern is a fern that is in areas that likes to be wet, likes to be moist. And we do get a lot of rain, a lot of fog here, but what that tells me is it's likely enough to support plants that I'm going to grow. So that is my hypothesis. And it's not squishy. It's not squishy along this entire hillside as far as I've been. I haven't been throughout the whole thing, but it's also a large swath I can plant in and deal with make it contiguous and related. So I like this idea here, and I would just need to, again, log a lot of it and log some in the front part for the sun to come in. So we're on kind of a north-facing hill here, but you can see this hill goes like this. So we have north and south and north and south. And that actually offers a little better scenario for variability. So if you have, you know, a shady side and a sunny side, you can plant different things based on their different needs. So I kind of went off away from water there, but that's okay. So as far as water goes, water is likely to soak in and flow off. I've not seen any indication of landslides in this area, or indication that like the trees aren't tilted like there has been landslides in the past. Those are things to look for as far as water goes, because you want this ground to be pretty solid. Now, a question you may have is whether or not I would do the typical troughs, you know, swales and berms in here, and that's something I would have to experiment with. I think it might be useful to do small ones so it has a little bit extra water in the summertime. We do get fog, and so I'm not sure how much fog happens in the summer, but hopefully some fog will fall down. And that's another reason not to get rid of all of the older trees, is because these old trees, they catch the fog and it condenses on the trees and it falls to the ground. So we don't have them here, but in like the Santa Cruz Mountains in California, there's the coast redwood, and the coast redwood is fog dependent. That's why you don't see it here. Even though I see almost every plant, almost every tree that grows there grows here. I haven't seen bay, and I don't think I've seen toyon. There's different kinds of oaks, but there's oaks. So basically everything that grows there grows here in some form or fashion. It's different in numbers, but the coast redwood does not grow here. It only grows along the coast because it is reliant on that fog belt along the coast. So it's reliant on rain, of course, but then throughout the summer they get the fog, and the fog gets caught on the needles, it condenses on the needles, and then falls to the ground to water that tree. So keeping some of these, especially the Douglas firs that are large, it makes sense to keep some of them here for that reason, for summer moisture. And again, I'm not familiar with how much fog we get here in the summer, but I'm sure there is some, and it's a good insurance policy. Plus the fungal stuff. So anyway, I might split this up into two. We'll see if I split this up into two. But hopefully this gives you a really good look at what you need to think about observationally with regards to water. So observing where water is, observing where water can go, and if you're lucky like me and have a really wet year, observing where it is now. You can dig holes to see how far up that water comes, observe the trees to see if they're tilted, if there's, you know, landslides that are already in progress, or if there's some other sign you can see from that. And then also to keep some of the trees for fog if you're in an area with fog. Now I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so we get, you know, rain and some fog. So that's what I have to say about that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this gets your wheels turning about observation, and especially this winter, observation and water in preparation for your food forest. Now, this area that I'm thinking about doing food forest in, it's quite a few acres, and I have to choose from, and what I end up doing, it may end up being, you know, a small area at a time, or just do the large area, at least with the trimming of the trees out. And then it'll end up being a really good thing, because here's the thing. I want to do food forest. This is already a food forest. Look what I just did. I just picked some hazelnuts. I don't know if they're any good. I don't know if there's any bugs in them, but there's hazelnuts. Okay, I just peeled this open. That's what it looks like. Over here, there's madrone. Madrone berries are edible. Tan oak those have acorns that can be leached and they're edible. There's chinkapin in here as well. I don't see anything right here. You can eat the tips of the Douglas fir. That is high in vitamin C. A lot of the fern fronds, the fiddlenecks, when they're all tightly curled, are edible. There's strawberry. I don't know what this other thing is growing on the ground, but there's strawberry in here. There's Oregon grape. There is blackberry. This is already a food forest. So if you look at a forest and you're like, can I grow something there? Oh yeah, and then the maples, the big leaf maples, you can eat those seeds. They're really tasty, actually. So if you look at a forest and you're like, well, I mean, I don't know, can anything grow there? Dude, it's a forest, it's growing. Yes, you can grow a forest in the forest. There might be some challenges to what you want to grow versus what the forest wants to grow, but it's yes, you can grow things. It's already a food forest. We're making it a more diverse food forest. And for those of you who are up for the challenge, go out to your nearest forest and see what you can see after we've talked about this and say, what am I looking at? What's already there to eat? Where is the water? And where would be the most ideal place to put what I want to eat? So there's your challenge, there's your homework. We'll see you next time. I may or may not make this part 2, part 1. So we'll see you next time. I hope this gave you some ideas about a little more specific things to look for and a little more touchy-feely, feel it out. Stand in an area for a little while and just kind of figure out, oh, there's also madrone apples here. Not madrone. Arctostaphylos. What is it called? Manzanita. So it has manzanita apple in here too. I've seen it over there a little bit. But there's lots of things to think about. There's lots of things to eat. There's lots of everything. I've seen mushrooms in here. There's lichen on the trees. It's all good. So thank you for watching and enjoy your day. Share this with someone who is looking to plant a food forest. Plan along with me. Let me know if I'm missing something. Let me know if I'm misinterpreting something. This is my first time building a food forest in a forested area. I have experience building basically edible landscaping food forest in urban area, and this I know is different. However, the principles are the same. So thanks for watching. We will see you next time.